Hey guys, it's Kyle Thompson here with eXp Realty, bringing you another monthly market update, and this week we're going to be covering single-family dwellings. Let's jump right into it. All right, so at a glance, we had 262 new listings, 118 new sales. The average list price was $827,780. The average sale price was $803,793. The average sale price to list ratio was 97.29%. Average days on market was 40.3, and we ended the month with an inventory of 438. As always, let's jump over and take a look at what that does for the market conditions. I like to use both the monthly supply of inventory method as well as the sales to new listing ratio, as I find using both measurements gives a more complete picture of what's going on in the market. And when we use the monthly supply of inventory method, we came in at 5.1, which is right in the middle of a neutral market. If we use the sales to new listing ratio instead, we come in at 45%, which is also in neutral market territory. Now let's jump over and take a look at the active inventory. In May, we continued a 6-month trend of higher monthly inventory, and last month we had the most amount of new listings coming on over the last 12 months. New sales increased from 101 up to 118, also on a 6-month trend. Expireds ticked up from 29 up to 34, and the benchmark price for a detached home in Kamloops fell from $664,300 down to $651,400, which is $12,900 if my math is correct. Now let's jump over and take a look at the end of month inventory. Last month we ended the month with an inventory of 438, which is about 7% above the 10-year average for this time of year at 408. It is also the highest amount of inventory this time of year going back to 2016. If we go over and take a look at new listings instead, we see that so far year to date, there's been 924 new single-family dwelling listings, which is the highest since 2019 and is pretty well on trend for the 10-year average. Now let's take a look at the units sold. So far year to date, we've had 432 units sold, which is on par for where we were this time last year, but we are 22% below the 10-year average of 555. Now let's take a look at the sales dashboard, starting off with the average sale price. This table is measuring year-over-year changes, so full year over full year, and when we look at it that way, the average sale price is actually up 1.58%. As for which areas are doing well and which ones are getting hit the hardest, it seems to be a bit of a mixed bag, but currently the most expensive areas of town are Sun Peaks, Knutsford, and Tobiano, all with an average sale price of over $1 million. Whereas the cheapest areas of town are North Cam, Paul Lake, and McClure, all with an average sale price of $600,000 or less. Now let's take a look at the sales to list price ratio. This is a measure of how much properties are selling on average below the list price, so it's a good proxy for how much negotiating room there is when you are the buyer. And last month we came in at 97.29. For the last, call it 3 months, we've been kind of range bound between 97 and 98, which is on the higher end of things over the last 12 months, but that is kind of to be expected, as in the spring going into early summer seems to be more busy, so less negotiating room when you are the buyer. Now moving on to sales by sub-area. Once again, this table is measuring full year over full year, and when we look at it that way, sales are actually up about 7.25%, with the majority of areas actually being up, and the busiest areas of town are Brock, North Cam, and Westside, which account for about a third of the total sales. Now let's jump over and take a look at how long it's taking properties to sell, starting off with the 10-year. So far, year to date, it's taken an average of 48 days for single-family dwellings to sell, which is about 5% above the 10-year average of 46. If we look at it by the trailing 12 months instead, we see that last month it took an average of 40 days for properties to sell, which is about 18% below the 12-month average of 49, and that is the lowest reading going back to July of last year. Finally, let's take a look at days on market by sub-area. Once again, these are measuring year-over-year changes, and when we look at it that way, in aggregate, it's taking slightly longer for properties to sell, taking about 2% longer than it did the prior year, And currently the fastest areas of town to sell are Westmont, Brock, and North Cam, ranging between 23 up to 30 days on average, whereas the slowest areas of town to sell are Tobiano, Sun Peaks, and Campbell Creek, ranging anywhere between 80 up to 107 days. That's all for today. I really hope that you're continuing to get value out of these market updates. If you are, consider liking and subscribing to my YouTube channel. And if you ever feel like maybe something needs to be more thoroughly explained, or you would like some things added to these market updates, please feel free to leave your suggestions in the comment section below, and I'll get to them as soon as I'm able. Thanks for watching.